Right. Okay, so welcome to another edition of Featured Business, brought to you by your host, myself, James Moffat, and we have our 83rd guest, Michelle. I'm not going to try to pronounce your surname, because I'll probably get that wrong, because I'm terrible with names, but if you could just pronounce your name for us, that would be great.
Sure, it's 𝗪𝗫𝗫.
Right, and is there an origin to that name?
We're not entirely sure, but somewhere in the Middle East.
In the Middle East?
That's all I can narrow it down to at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you married to someone from the Middle East?
Well, the family goes back to there, but yeah, my husband was born in the UK, but yeah, his family comes from.
Oh, he's a prince from some exotic.
No, I don't know about that.
I say prince because I know in one of your stories you've worked with princes and princesses.
That is true. Yes, yes.
Which we're gonna. I'm sure everybody will want to know, so we're going to come on to that in a minute. So you are our 38th guest, so welcome. And just for those that are listening that haven't seen this before, we just take our guest on a trip down memory lane to get to know the person behind the business. So we're not going to jump into the business yet. We're going to learn about that on the journey. So this is the opportunity to learn a little bit about Michelle. So if you're ready, with your beautiful blue eyes, which are not contact lenses, right?
They're real.
Yeah, we're going to learn a bit about Michelle. So Michelle,
yeah.
Let's start off. So where are you living at the moment, and where are you originally from?
Okay, so I live in North London, in a quite leafy area. We've got a massive country park, about 7 or 8 minutes walk, but I'm also really well connected to get into central London, so I can be there in about 40 minutes on public transport. And I was born actually in the East End of London. And you may not know, to be a true Cockney, you have to be born within the sound of Bow bells. And what that means is the radius around which it's possible to hear the bells of the Bow Church. And that makes you a true Cockney, apparently, or East Ender, as you might also know it. So yeah, I'm actually an East Ender.
Wow.
But you wouldn't know it from my accent, probably.
Yeah, it's not that broad. Actually, did you lose it, or do you ever have it?
No, not really. No, I was born there, but my parents moved out to the suburbs, to Hertfordshire, when I was 1.
Yeah, I know Bow very well, because although I'm not from London, I did live in London. I lived in Bow in the East End.
Wow,
so you've got Mile End, Stepney Green, Whitechapel. You got Bow, and then Bow Church.
Yes, well, I was born in Bethnal Green Hospital, which is within the sound of Bow bells, apparently. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is Cockney, if I may interrupt? How does it sound, or can you?
Well, I'm not sure I can do a very good Cockney accent. Right, governor, how you doing, mate? That's kind of that sort of thing. Okay. And there's a lot of what we call Cockney rhyming slang, which is very confusing, actually. So for example, if you say, "Oh, I'm going up the apples," it means I'm going up the stairs, because it's apples and pears stairs. Trouble and strife is wife. Whistle and flute is suit. So there's all sorts of these rhyming phrases that Cockneys will use, and when you hear them talking, you haven't got a clue what they're going on about.
Yeah, so that's very true. So I mean, you can get a book. I've actually got one here. There's a little handbook on Cockney rhyming slangs, and it'll tell you all of these ones. These are kind of the common ones: whistle and flute, apples and pears. But it was a street language for the market traders.
Yeah.
And the market traders would have their own language. So when the toffs, the well-to-do kind of business people were out in the market buying the stuff, they could have their street language and not be understood. And then, but everything was rhyming. That's why they call it Cockney rhyming slang, because it is slang. and it rhymes like apples and pears is stairs. But exactly what Michelle said, she said, going up the apples or the pears, you don't have to say both words because you know what it is. So if you said, I'm going up the apples or the pears, well, you know, apples and pears mean stairs. So you don't have to say it because it becomes too much to say both.
But it is very confusing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's quite fun as well.
Yeah, it is. It's
I
quite
have
fun.
to do a post about that, actually.
Yeah, you should, because I mean, I guess it's kind of evolved as well with a street slang and everything else. I mean, there's new words to consider. But I mean, there's probably some old sitcoms and things that would have more examples of that.
Yeah, Only Fools and Horses.
Oh yeah, I mean,
yeah,
exactly. Anyway, so you're born in the sound of the Bow Bells.
Right? I was, yes, but as I say, we moved out to the Shires in when I was 1, and so I grew up sort of in a very kind of suburban market town called Hertford.
Yeah, so then you became more posh, I guess.
Well, I don't know about that. But
Did you go to a private school?
No, I didn't. I went to state primary and secondary schools.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so what brought you back to London?
When I was 18, I moved out of home. I was living actually in a place called 𝗬𝗢𝗦𝗧, which, you know,
where's that?
Not a good name for a place, is it really?
So where do you live? They say where? They say that's what I'm asking.
W-E-R-E, not W-H-E-R-E. 𝗬𝗢𝗦, Hertfordshire, with my parents, but I was ready to sort of spread my wings as soon as I left school. So I moved back to where I was born, actually. I ended up back in Bethnal Green, sharing a house with 2 of my cousins. And I got a job, and we sort of lived kind of the student lifestyle, but, you know, we were all working and partying quite hard at that point. Yeah.
I think it's better.
Yeah, what, partying?
Yes.
Absolutely. So, you know, when you're 18, 20, whatever, what else are you going to do?
Yeah. So, hi, Boyan. Boyan's just joined. So Boyan is in Bulgaria, and he's been a guest and also the longest serving kind of member of the audience.
Welcome.
So he's probably seen like 90% of the guests.
Wow.
So, and yeah, talking about space as we were prior to the show, Boyan went to visit Cape Canaveral because he wanted to be a spaceman when he was a kid.
I still want. I'm still kids. So.
Yeah, maybe just digress a bit. I mean, you're gonna. It's a relative of yours is meeting someone from the space station. What were you saying earlier?
Yeah, so on Sunday I'm going to the Royal Albert Hall to watch a concert which has been composed by my cousin. It's actually my husband's cousin, if I'm going to be totally honest with you. But he is friends with Sir 𝗘𝗔𝗞𝗥, the astronaut, and he's taken a lot of the footage that Sir Tim gathered while he was on the International Space Station. He set it to music, and there's going to be a large live orchestra playing, and he's conducting the orchestra. And Tim and Elan are going to be there to, you know, do a question and answer session as well. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Looking forward to that.
Will it be recorded?
I don't know. Probably not.
Right. That'd be one for Boyan because he's really into space stuff.
Yeah, well, anyway, Cape Canaveral was amazing. I don't know if any of the others have been there, but it is a fascinating place to go.
Did you go as well?
I've been, yes. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
What year were you there then?
Not that long ago. Probably, I'm guessing it was probably about 2017.
All right. And Boyan, when were you there?
Well, in Cape Canaveral?
Yeah.
Well, it was 2004 or 5.
All right.
I was kid that time.
I was there in '96.
Ah, you were there also.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's well worth a visit if you get an opportunity, if you're in that part of the world.
Yeah. Anyway, we digress.
All right.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, so let's get back on track. So you're now living in London. So I mean, growing up as a kid, I mean, any siblings?
One sister. Yeah. Yeah, fairly sort of average, mundane kind of childhood, really. And just, you know, I was quite studious, good girl, always did my homework, tried hard, did okay with my O-levels, but kind of flunked my A-levels, really. So that kind of, that's relevant to the next part of my story. But,
Okay, but
yeah.
did you excel at anything at school?
I don't think I would say I really excelled at anything. I think I was okay at lots of things, let's say, but there wasn't really one thing that stood out, I don't think.
But a passion for anything in particular or not?
I mean, I wanted to be a gymnast.
Really?
Yeah, but I wasn't, you know, good enough to do that. But that's what I really loved doing, was just kind of flinging myself around the garden and hanging upside down from the climbing frame with 1 foot and that type of thing, giving my mum a heart attack every time she looked out into the garden. Yeah.
Yeah, boy.
And I played a lot of sport when I was at school, but I was never kind of good enough to kind of take it further. So I played a lot of hockey, netball. I like to do diving. Yeah, all sorts of different sports.
We played hockey in the street in front of the block because of the shadow. It was thick ice.
Right.
In our childhood. And then a couple of years ago, I became for several years like a sponsor of a local hockey team here in Bulgaria.
Right, I've never actually played ice hockey. I'm absolutely horrendous at skating. Yeah, so I played a lot of field hockey. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want to know this, but once I was playing in a tournament over a bank holiday weekend, so it's an extra day, Monday off work, and it was a mixed hockey tournament, so it was men and women playing together. And I'm quite short. I'm 5 feet tall, and they're up against these really huge guys who were like over 6 feet, you know, really big. And one literally, I don't know if you remember cartoons where the character just gets flattened into the floor, and you see the imprint of them in the floor. That kind of happened to me. This big guy just steamrolled over me, and as I went down, my hockey stick sort of bashed into my ribs, and I managed to sort of get up and like hobbled off, and I was all right for a little while. I thought, oh, I'll carry on, I'll be fine. So I carried on playing, fueled by quite a lot of alcohol in the evenings, managed to get through this tournament. But when I came home on the Monday, I thought, probably should just go to the hospital and get checked out. Turns out I'd broken 3 ribs on the Saturday afternoon, but just carried on playing as you do.
Oh, yeah. So brave.
Yeah. Show must go on, right?
Yeah. The show must go on, yeah. So you're married now with children?
I am, yes. Been married for 21 years in about 6 days' time. So wedding anniversary.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
And children?
Yeah, 2 boys, 19, and the younger one just turned 18 last week.
Wow.
So yeah, some bizarre reason I thought it was a good idea to have them very close together. It turns out it wasn't a great idea, but you know, anyway, it's fine. It's fine now, but it was very hard at the start.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, are they still at home or have they moved out?
Yeah, they're still at home. One of them's working, but he's not really happy in the job he's in. So he's considering setting up his own business with a friend in doing digital marketing. He's done a qualification, an apprenticeship in digital marketing. So he's thinking about setting up his own thing.
He doesn't want to work with mum then?
He has done a bit of work for me, but I think he's keen to sort of do his own thing, and he's got a slightly different skill set anyway to me. Yeah. So he's going to go and set up on his own. And the younger one has a place to study IT business management starting in September at university.
I hire him.
Yeah, well, that's handy.
Why not? No, not hire. It's totally wrong. we need to speak to become colleagues to work together. This is different perspective. This is
Yeah, he's got quite a long way to go, but yeah, he's
me
studied.
too. I don't. I'm in IT, but the way is long. It never stops actually.
Well, no, it's the same with anything really. You're always
Yes.
learning, aren't you?
So they were born in London,
Yes.
right? So they would support a London football team, would they?
The younger one is not interested in football at all. He's into trampolining, rock climbing, and skateboarding.
All right, yeah,
And the older one is an ardent Arsenal fan.
right. And you, because you were born in London, support which London team?
Well, I'm not. I don't really, but I kind of do. I follow what Arsenal do because my son's interested in it. He goes to see the games. So
No, but
we're
it
not.
says
We
here,
weren't happy.
I'm
We weren't
reading
happy
here.
last night.
I'm reading here that you're a Liverpool fan.
Well, back in the day, yes. When I was a youngster, I was a big Liverpool fan.
Well, they're doing okay at the moment.
They certainly are, yes. But I have to. I kind of more sort of follow what Arsenal do these days, just because then I've got something in common with my son, and I can talk to him about.
And it's more local.
It's more local, yes, yes. So, but we were very unhappy about the result last night.
Oh, what was it?
3-0 to Spurs.
Oh,
It's the London derby. Not a
mm,
good result for Arsenal.
no, not good. Anyway, and as a kid, then you used to go boating along the River Lee.
Did, yes. My dad was a very keen fisherman and also just loved to spend time on the water. So one day he came home with a boat, literally towed behind the car. Just sort of a short, I think it was about 16 foot boat, something like that, with a little outboard motor on the back of it. And so began our trips down the river, which we used to take quite frequently during the summer. Probably maybe not every weekend, but maybe 2 or 3 weekends out of the month, we'd go take a picnic and set off down the river.
Very nice. I remember when I lived in Bow, I used to cycle a lot along the canals.
Grand Union.
Yeah, exactly. And there's kind of this secret canal passageways that are all over London that people don't even know they're there.
Network, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So.
Right. So just moving on, I want to just touch on some of your kind of magical stories. I mean, you've got stories within stories and so many, but some of them that really kind of stood out more were, I mean, about the Saudi royal family. Right?
Yes. So,
let's just see if anyone wants. Do you want to hear the story? It's a funny one. Anyone want to hear it?
Sure.
All right. Okay.
yeah. Okay. So in my let me get this right. Yeah, my second job, I think it was, I was working for a company based in right in the West End of London, very posh part of town. God knows why they let me in Knightsbridge, which you may have heard of. It's where Big Harrods store is. So I was working in a house which had been converted into an office, and it turns out that the company, which was a limited company, had been set up to deal with the sort of UK tax affairs of the Saudi Arabian royal family. And I kid you not, my job, obviously I've been an accountant for many years, but I was an assistant I hadn't qualified at this point. My job was to account for the prince and princess's monthly pocket money, the allowances that they were given each month. And yeah, it was back in 1990, so you know, I'm showing my age now, but it was 32 years ago. And
wow.
And it was not an insignificant sum of money that they were being given every month. The firstborn prince would have £50,000 allowance to spend on whatever he wanted, parties, you know.
Per month?
Per month, yeah. But they wanted to know.
A good friend to have.
They wanted to know what he was up to, so they hired me to account for all his receipts.
Yeah, I would settle for half of that.
Yeah,
It is. I need
10%
5,000
nice.
pounds to
Yeah,
use it.
even 10% of that.
Yeah, I mean, it
I'm
was
good.
just ridiculous, you know. It was just, you know, noughts off the end of the calculator the whole time. The other, I had two other parts to my job. So, let's say, one was counting for their pocket money. The second bit was accounting for all the private jets and all the fees associated with them, like, you know, jetting around the world, landing fees, pilot fees, all that sort of fuel and everything. And the third part was that once a quarter, I would have to go into the basement and count the petty cash, which is petty cash, meaning, you know, the little bit of cash that you have in a box, you know, for incidentals.
A couple of £100.
No, it's like £50,000 sealed from the bank, another 50,000. And it would be something like between £250,000 and £500,000 in various different currencies that they had just hanging around in the safe just in case they fancied going out to spend something. And it was insane, really.
Terrible.
Yeah, and I went from that job to the complete opposite.
Did they pay you a good salary for that?
It was all right. I mean, it was
100,000 a month.
Yeah,
You know, it was. I think.
The right
You
salary.
know, I
You see
can't
the right
actually.
salary.
I think I was. It wasn't a lot. I mean, we're going back 32 years. I was probably on about £13,000 a year or something like that.
All right.
Yeah. So it didn't really touch his 50 grand a month.
Yeah.
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 One thing,
I would chaperone them around. I mean, for a percentage of that to help them spend it.
I kept at arm's length from it all, really. Apart from the year I was there, their horse won the Derby.
All
So
right.
on Derby Day, I'm trying to remember the name of the I've forgotten the name.
Red Rum.
𝗪𝗏𝗧𝗏, I think it was.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we all gathered around this television, us minions who were doing the, you know, bean counters, to watch the Derby, and of course the horse won. And within less than, I don't know, 90 minutes after the race, we all had a packet of cash in our hands, because it was just like a bonus, because they were very happy that day. Yeah. So I think we all got about 300 quid or something. So that was quite nice.
Nice. So you keep in touch with them?
No.
But did you have the opportunity? But
No,
did they actually know who you were?
No, probably not.
All right. Okay. Right. So when you say you've rubbed shoulders with the
From a very far distance. Yeah, I've just
Yeah.
looked at the bank account.
yeah, I've just counted your cash in the basement,
Yeah,
but I
that's it.
have no idea who you are.
Exactly. I never got the opportunity to go across to Riyadh to the pub, but I heard all about, you know, the diamonds that were studded into the floor all the way up to the palace that my boss's boss told me all about, but no, I didn't get to go.
Okay.
'Cause
But then
I wasn't important enough.
no.
No.
Did you meet the kids though?
No.
All right, okay. You met the horse?
Didn't meet anyone. I could be making it all up.
Met the
It's
cleaner?
actually true.
You met the cleaner?
Probably, yeah.
All right. Okay. Anyway, I just want to, just before we move on a little bit, there was another story which I don't know about. It's just kind of caught my attention. But you're an accountant, and you came face to face with a shotgun.
Yes.
Was it a wedding?
No.
It was not a shotgun wedding.
A real shotgun.
Oh, right. So
Yeah.
can you just share that story?
Yes. So after I left the Saudi Arabian royal family, I went and worked in an air traffic control and defence systems manufacturer who were losing money hand over fist. So that was from one extreme to the other, just so I could finish off my qualification. But after that, I joined 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪�̮Glaxo which is a very big pharmaceutical company, which most people probably heard of. And I started there in 1992, I think it was. And I worked my way around, like doing different jobs in different departments. And eventually I ended up with a job which required me to travel to the States quite a lot. So I was working on a project team, and I was working quite closely with a group of Americans based in North Carolina. So I was going backwards and forwards to North Carolina staying for a couple of weeks at a time, and I was going maybe every 2 to 3 weeks at one point, so I was, there quite a lot. And one time I went, it was actually Thanksgiving, and one of the project team said, I think she probably just felt a bit sorry for me because I was on my own and they were all celebrating, and she said, oh, why don't you come over to my house for Thanksgiving dinner? So I thought, well, I've never experienced that before. It sounds like a good plan. So I took her up on the offer. And even then, days before sat navs, so I had this sort of rusty old map that really wasn't very good, and some very dodgy instructions on how to get to her where she lived. And I'm, driving this car, and I'm not used to the other side of the road, and so everything's a bit unfamiliar. I'm trying to work out where I'm going. And I don't know if you've ever had this experience where you kind of know instinctively that you're not going the right way.
Yes.
Yeah? So I thought, right, I'm going to stop, consult this map again and try and figure out where the hell I am. So I saw a sort of like kind of sweeping gravel driveway that I thought, just turn around in there. That'd be great. Well, I just stopped there so I can look at the map. So I stopped in. It was starting to get dark at this point. In fact, it was already dark at this point. So I'm sitting consulting this map, and all of a sudden I hear this very loud voice in a southern drawl, a Southern American drawl, and this man's running towards me, shouting his head off with a shotgun in his hand, because he didn't like the fact that I was on his property. So that was quite scary.
Wow.
So I'm actually in the car, and the window's up, but this guy's like racing towards me with this shotgun.
So basically you turned into someone's drive,
yes,
just to check the map out.
Yeah.
And he's seen this,
yeah,
taken offense to it,
yeah,
gone and got his shotgun. Wow.
Yeah, so it's kind of scary, very scary actually.
So how did that end?
Well, I think, he got to the window.
You jumped out the car,
no,
wrestled him.
Got to the window, and I'm like cowering, tiny little girl. Yeah, I mean, I still look quite young at that stage.
Did you put on your Cockney accent?
No, he did recognise that I was English straight away, because like he sort of tapped on the window. He'd sort of lowered the gun at this point, because I think he realised I wasn't much of a threat to him.
So then
tiny,
you were his English
shaking
flower.
like a leaf.
You became his English flower. Tapped
on the window, and I sort of rolled it down a little bit. So he's like, "What y'all doing on my property?"
Oh, you do that good.
And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm lost. He goes, "You are from England?" Yes.
He says, "You're in the wrong country."
And then he wanted to know how I had met the Queen.
You should have said, "No, but the Saudi royal family I've met."
I didn't want to mention that, but it's like,
and I know how much money they've got.
Anyway, it's like surreal conversation. He's still got his shotgun there.
Yeah.
And I was like, "No, I'm just sorry, I'm just lost. I'm trying to find." Anyway, I showed him the map where I was, and he gave me some other instructions. And as I was leaving, turning around to go,
he blew a kiss.
Why don't you all come round for dinner tomorrow night? I was like, "Yeah, I'm busy, sorry." Put down, get out of there.
Well, that might have been nice.
Story of the shotgun.
You could have had another story going round for dinner.
I might not be here to tell that tale.
Yeah, but you could then, you could fabricate a story. Yeah, I lived in London years, and I've had dinner with the Queen a few times actually, and he would believe you.
I could have said all sorts of things. I just wanted out of there, though.
I can imagine.
Yeah, well, that was very scary.
But I'm thinking about when your mum was saying, like, hanging around from trees in the garden, that you're gonna like get out the other side of as he's looking in the window, you're already outside of the car in the other window, and you've gone over the roof, and you've got a neck lock or something, and got the shotgun on him.
No, he was, I wasn't obviously going to tackle him because he was like twice my size.
But he did show you the way then?
He did eventually show me the way.
And
I did get to the house for the pumpkin pie, which is absolutely foul.
Yeah. So, did you tell them the story?
Of course.
And they said, "Oh yeah, we know him."
I don't think they believe me. I'm sure lots of people I've told the story. I don't think it's true.
He said, yeah, that's the guy up the road with the big driveway that you can turn around in. He said, everybody does it.
Yeah, it's probably what happens all the time.
Yeah. He should say, beware of guy with a shotgun if you're going to turn around in this drive.
Well, the thing is, they've all got a shotgun out there, you know, it's common.
All right.
Yeah.
Why do they all need shotguns?
Well, because they have
In case people drive in the driveway.
They
So
you know, they're allowed to.
they know lost from England,
aren't they? They're allowed to have a gun to defend themselves, so
Yeah.
they've all got shotguns.
Yeah, Second Amendment.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, let's move on from that. So let's find out a bit about what you do now. Then, so
yeah,
you've done a lot of accountancy work.
I have. I was an accountant for 23 years. Yeah, so started in a design company, and I went to the Saudi Arabian royal family. Then I went air traffic control and defence systems, and then I wound up in the pharmaceutical company.
But
So
you weren't an air traffic controller.
No, I was always in the finance department.
All right.
Some people like to call us bean counters.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, so
always. It's about efficiency of planes and stuff. I mean,
in the air traffic control, well, it was meant they were manufacturing air traffic control systems, so it was quite deep manufacturing accounting that I was doing. So price variance analysis and materials development.
I mean, all of these are stories in themselves.
Yeah, well, it was quite, I mean, it was an interesting place to work because they were not doing well. Yeah, it was a time when I think the recession, 91, big recession, and they were losing a lot of money. So there was always budget cuts, and that was quite a challenging job too in some ways, because as you can imagine, a manufacturing company, all the managers were men, and they were all sort of, you know, in their 40s or 50s, white, middle class, very stereotypical sort of manufacturing environment. And there's me, I think I was probably 21 or 22 at the time, a very tiny white woman trying to tell these guys who were at least twice my age that they couldn't spend X amount of money that they wanted to spend, or that they were over budget, and here was the reason why. And so that was quite an interesting time. And I came across quite a lot of sexism, I suppose.
So with your kids, I mean, did you tell them the story about the Saudi royal family and the kids and their petty cash and their pocket money? And
probably, yeah, I'm sure they've heard it, but they're not particularly.
Did they not say, like, where's that? What allowance can we have per month?
They have had an allowance since they were 5, actually. Yeah. And in fact, it's only just stopped. So I said, like, when your brother turns 18, this is to my oldest son, you can have, because obviously he was a year older than the younger one. So when the younger one was 5, they both started getting pocket money. So I said, well, when I'll keep giving it to you the same amount of years. So when your brother turns 18, you'll be 19. That's when it stops. So it's literally this month. Oh,
so the 19-year-old got an extra year bonus?
No, because he didn't start until he was 6.
Ah, okay then.
Yeah, okay. They both got the same number of years of pocket money. It's got to be fair, hasn't it? Yeah.
But did you watch what they spend it on?
Well, you know what? It's a good question, because I believe really strongly that children should be allowed to spend their money on whatever they want to spend it on, even if it's utter rubbish. Because if you're always controlling what they spend their money on, it takes them much, much longer to learn how to spend sensibly, because they haven't got practice. So, if they waste all their money on something that turns out to be not a good purchase, then that is a learning, and they're unlikely to do it again.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and so they've actually, both of them have got quite good sort of money sense, I think. And in fact, both of them have been earning their own money since they were 13 or 14. So the younger one got a job when he was 13, trampoline coach.
Wow.
1 hour a week he started, voluntary basis, and then they sort of saw that he had potential, and they sort of trained him up and took him on, and he's been working there. He's 18 now, so he's been working there 5 years now.
Wow, very good.
Yeah, and the older one, very, very good with children. So he did quite a lot of babysitting from the age of 14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talking about children, so you had a bit of a career path change. And then for a number of years, you tell me what you did.
Well, when I left GSK, which was in 2011, I started working, and the reason why I left was I got made redundant. I started working in the children's school for a while. I was thinking about training to become a primary school teacher. And I loved working with the kids, but I couldn't really get along with education policy and all the politics and paperwork and everything else that kind of went with being a teacher. So I decided to retrain and become an adult education teacher instead. And I specialised in childbirth. So I would teach parents to be what it was going, what to expect, what it was going to be like to give birth, how to cope in the early days of being a parent.
Wow.
Yeah, so I ran a business for about 8 years, providing classes for parents and also baby and child first aid training as well.
So you're an expert when it comes to childbirth?
Well, I know a bit about it. I'm writing a novel actually at the moment, which is based all around some of the stories that I heard from my clients. Yeah.
Do you know what? I saw something very interesting just the other week actually about childbirth in water, but with dolphins.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw it. Did anyone see it? I mean, it was really excellent. I mean, so the mum to be was in the water. I mean, they had the midwives and whatever other medical people around, but they left the dolphin there. And the dolphin didn't deliver the baby, but I mean, she did it naturally. But the dolphin was there, right? And touching its nose on the belly, and then circling around and making lots of noises and stuff. And then the woman had the baby in the water.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was this kind of this consciousness between the baby and the dolphin that we don't recognize, but the baby and the dolphin were in sync with each other. And it was apparently is the most magical way you can give birth.
Oh, I should look that up. I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah, I just saw it just last week.
Okay,
somewhere. But anyway, so
yeah, no dolphins involved.
There was no dolphins.
I don't think I'll be putting that into my book.
Yeah. I mean, it's a subject that is fascinating because we've got 3 small kids, and yeah, the first birth was an absolute nightmare. And was it malpractice by the doctors? I mean, that's debatable. Was it just complications or whatever? But I mean, nevertheless, sometimes the births are supposed to be this magical experience turn into kind of a nightmare. And
sure, I've heard lots and lots of difficult stories, and it was one of the reasons why I decided to give up that particular job in the end.
No, I'd be interested in. You're writing the book at the moment.
Yeah, it's a novel, so it's basically a group of people come together at an antenatal class, and it's sort of how their stories unfold and how their lives intertwine.
Interesting.
And with some actual, quite maybe not entirely graphic, but some real sort of British sort of birth stories in there as well.
Yeah, I could contribute to that about hours.
I've heard so many shocking stories, honestly. I don't really want to hear anymore.
No, but the thing is, you don't want to scare a mother away from being pregnant.
Well, yeah, I mean, people don't really realise what they're getting into, I don't think, until it's too late.
Yeah, that's why you need the dolphins. But anyway, we're doing the book as well. So if you've been a guest, you can be in the book. So yeah, we're creating our own at the moment.
Cool.
We've just started, so it's a bit of a long journey for us. So anyway, so tell us a bit now about what you're doing. So what do you do now, and how long have you done that?
Right, so I set up my copywriting services in September 2019. So I just come off the back of 4 years home educating my boys. So they did the first year of high school, but my older son has some special needs which weren't being well met, and he wasn't coping in school, so we took him out. And then the younger one just nagged me because, you know, it's not very fair when your older brother hasn't got to go to school and doesn't have to do homework and hasn't got to wear a uniform.
So was that a challenge then, being a home teacher? And
yeah, it was. I'm not going to lie to you, James. It was tough some of the time, and other times it was good, really good fun. But so anyway, so yeah, 4 years of home educating whilst I was still running the childbirth classes at this stage. But then when we'd finished with the exams, my sons had finished their exams, one of them went off and got a job working in digital marketing and did his apprenticeship. So he was fully occupied. And the other one decided to go to college a year early, and he did his sort of A-level equivalent course. So he was off hands as well. So I was sort of sitting there thinking, right, what do I do now? And I did think about setting up my own accountancy practice for about 30 seconds, and then decided actually
30 seconds.
I just thought, really not feeling that I want to do that. It's kind of a backward step, you know.
Yeah.
So then I sort of sat and thought, well, what else do I enjoy doing? What am I reasonably good at? And I've always enjoyed writing. I wrote quite a lot for my parenting business, blogs, and, you know, getting my website up to the top of Google in the local area. So I thought, well, maybe I can do that for other businesses. So I toddled along to a local networking group in August 2019, which I had been a member of before when I was promoting my first aid classes. So I went back, and you know, you don't know who you're going to meet at these things, do you? So I went in and I started talking to a woman who's a mindfulness trainer. And at that point, I mean, I'd heard of mindfulness, but I didn't really know much about it. And I said to her, you know, this is what I'm thinking of doing. I'm going to set up this business. And she said, oh, I'm really struggling at the moment to write my website, and my web developers on my case. They need the copy to finish it all off. So I just said to her, look, I don't know anything about mindfulness. I've never written anyone else's website before, but hey, why don't you let me have a go at writing it for you? And like a fool, she said yes. I'm so glad she did, but she just, I don't know why she said yes, because I probably wouldn't have said yes if it had been me. I think she must have been quite desperate at this point. So she said, yeah, all right then, thinking she's got nothing to lose. I said, look, if it's rubbish, just put it in the bin and we won't speak of this again. But anyway, I went home and I did my research, found out all about mindfulness, looked at what she already had and kind of listen, you know, sort of see what her tone of voice was like. And I wrote her a couple of pages. I sent it back the same day. And she sent me an email saying, I don't know how you've done that. Sounds exactly like me. Write the rest of it for me.
Wow.
And that was my first paying customer.
Oh.
So I thought, oh, maybe I can do this then.
But had you been a writer before?
Well, I've always written over the years various things. I wrote a lot in my during my time at GSK. I was one of the main communications people, so I've written loads of training manuals. I'd written web copy for our department. I'd write all the customer communications.
So it's better than accountancy.
Say again?
It's much better than accountancy.
Is it? I don't know. I like numbers just as much as I like words. Yeah. I think. Yeah. Yeah.
So
when I started, I thought, right, I'm going to look for some clients that are in, you know, areas that interest me, like education and health and creative. So I got a few different customers, and one of my very first customers, it was helpful in helping me to understand what I didn't want to do, because I ended up having to write a scaffolding company's website. Yeah, poles.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you, but it's really hard to make that sound interesting.
Well, you could do pole. It's kind of pole dancing, isn't it?
Yeah, it was, you know, it was very straight, like a pole is. But yeah, so I thought, right, I don't really want to do trades. That's not me, and I don't get much joy from that.
But you couldn't add humour to it then. I mean,
no, they weren't interested in that.
Yeah, it couldn't be like, these are the pole dancers of the building industry.
No, they
because
wouldn't.
they're dancing around.
Not any of that. So
Oh,
no,
okay.
it was all very dull. So I didn't really enjoy that much. But, you know, it helped me to work out what I do like to do and what I don't like to do. So I'm very clear on, you know, the sorts of companies that I work with now.
So you pick a particular industry sector?
Well, recently, and I suppose I'm saying about the last 7 months or so, I've been marketing, particularly for financial services. Purely because I decided I didn't want to go back to accountancy and open up my own accountancy practice or be a bookkeeper. But when I started writing copy, even though I wasn't marketing for those companies, all the finance companies would come to me anyway. I think, you know, if you look on LinkedIn and you look at somebody's experience, you can see straight away that I've got a lot of experience in finance. So I was getting I was getting a few customers in that niche anyway. And then in, about 7, 8 months ago, I thought, right, I'll really start marketing just for those people on LinkedIn. And I'd say about probably 85 to 90% of my clients now are financial services of some sort. So accountants, financial advisors, bookkeepers, insurance, mortgage brokers, all those sorts of people. And then I have about 10% of my clients are just other people who come to me because, you know, they've been referred or they've seen me on LinkedIn or I meet them at networking.
So you do various different things for them?
I do, yeah. So I write quite a lot of search engine optimized web copy and blogs. I write lots of people's LinkedIn profiles. I always find that I love doing that. It's really great little process where I sort of sit down and interview them for an hour and find out what language they use and all about their business. And I prefer doing it for business owners rather than people who are looking for a job, if I'm going to be honest about that. And all sorts of other marketing material as well. So flyers, ebooks, landing pages, sales, you know, emails, that sort of thing.
So you typically work alone?
Yes, mainly I work alone, sometimes collaborate with people. I've got one writer that I pass work to if I've got, you know, a bit of a hump.
And the name of your business?
It's called Let Me Write.
Is there a reason behind that?
Well, me is my initials, ME. So it's a kind of a little play on words. Just let me write for you. If you can't do your own writing, let me write. So really nothing much to it.
So it's actually another.
I think it's a good name. I like it.
Yes, it's good.
Thanks.
No, I like it.
Let's
That's why I wanted to mention it.
Yeah, so that's kind of it really. And then creatively I like to write. I've written 13 children's stories.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me more, because I wrote my first book with my eldest son, and we have hundreds more to write, but it was painful doing the first one. Yeah,
it takes a long time. Only 6 of them have been published so far.
All right. Have you got one there you can show me?
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, very nice. I'll show you mine. While we're comparing books, right? I'll just show you mine. Oh, excellent. Who did the graphics or the illustrations?
This one was a lady called 𝗪𝗓𝗪.
So how did you find her?
Well, actually, this is a collaboration between me and another lady called 𝗪𝗓𝗪𝗧.
Yeah.
She is a product and food and drink photographer.
Oh.
And I happened to sit down at a networking group once back in the day, before COVID, when we were seeing each other face to face. And I sat down and she happened to be next to me and we started chatting over lunch. And then I think that was in sort of November 2019. And didn't think too much of it, but kept in touch. We connected on LinkedIn. And then all of a sudden, one day in April 2020, we're all locked down. She phones me up and she said, oh, I want to write these books. They're going around in my head. I've got ideas, but I can't do the writing. Do you want to help? And so I said, yeah, that sounds like fun. So together we wrote.
You said, let me write.
Yeah. So, well, this was, she had the ideas and I did the writing. So I sort of developed the story. Yeah, so we wrote 12 books quite quickly. The writing got done, but it's the illustrations and the layout takes an age. She's quite a perfectionist. I'm sure she won't mind me saying that if she ever happens to see this.
But these are published now. I mean, if we
So
wanted to get a copy.
6 of them you can buy from Amazon,
Uh-huh.
or from my website, and the other 6 that I wrote with her are still being developed. I don't know quite when they're going to come out. They're still having illustrations done and what have you. Hopefully some more will come out this year.
I just
the 13th one is actually with I've written it for someone else to publish.
But these are short kind of bedtime stories.
Yeah, so they're aimed at 3 to 6 year olds, and the set that we've done 10 stories in one set called Dare to Be Different, and they're all about different health and well-being issues that children might face, and how
very interesting,
how they can be included. So we've covered things like nut allergy, gluten intolerance, being vegan, insomnia, hay fever, asthma, all these sorts of things that children might be dealing with. And they're all rhyming as well, the stories.
Very good. Did you do bedtime storytelling with your kids?
Absolutely. Do you know, I well, don't show this to my son, but he still used to have a bedtime story when he was about 13 or 14. He just loved
that.
Absolutely loved being read to at bedtime.
No, but I loved doing it. So just digressing a little bit. So because I'm into bedtime storytelling, right? And it's something that I had as a kid, but I wanted to relive that magical experience. So I started with my kids as soon as possible. And then with my eldest son, he said to me, because I was just reading regular books, like Mr. Men books, but then changing the words because a lot of them were just nonsense, right? So then we just look at the pictures, but I would tell my story, and it was so funny because you can really elaborate on what you think the story should be, and then we created different characters.
Yeah, it's great for imagination and for
but even we had like, and then putting on the voices and things, like Mr. Nobody was one of my, Mr. Confused also is a funny one, because we use the kids' imagination and also ours, and we just changed it up. But anyway, this was the first book that we did.
Very good.
Right, and then kind of these are the illustrations. So this was all about going to the moon, right? So one for boy, and so on the topic of going to the moon, that was it. But I mean, they're great because when you start leveraging on the imagination of the kids, and then these stories, Tom said to me, Daddy, I don't want Mr. Men books anymore. I want my stories. I want my adventures. So I said, okay, then, so where do we start? So we started like the start, the middle, and the end. And what you want to achieve doing it is get them to go to sleep, but you create magic. So then we audio record them as well. So we have like 400 audio recordings of bedtime stories.
Fantastic.
And even when they listen to them back afterwards, if I say, I can't read, I've got a meeting or something, I can't read a story tonight, they say, can we listen to a recording? And you can hear them in the other room laughing because they love hearing their own voice in the story. But I mean, yeah, we should get together about these storytelling, because I mean, I focus more on the kids' imagination, their emotional intelligences and stuff like that. I don't go focusing on kind of maybe what you have. But I personally see there's a need for all of these things.
Absolutely.
But anyway, let's just get back to your business. So you do that as a hobby? Or
yeah, I mean, I don't really expect to make any money out of it, although of course it would be lovely to be the next Julia Donaldson. That's probably not going to happen. So yeah, it's more of a creative outlet. So I like to be creative, which you can't sometimes do with finance. You have to be careful.
But you're creative with your copy. I mean, you have to be creative there.
Yeah, but there are ways that I want to be creative that I can't really do for my clients. So if you take a look at some of the posts that I put on LinkedIn, it's never something that I could write for a client. So one of the things I do is write parodies. So I'll take a song and I'll change the words. And another thing I do is I make up about pages, because the about section on LinkedIn. So on St. Patrick's Day, if Ireland had an about page, what would it look like? and so I write Ireland's about page.
Ah,
I write England's about page. So it's just a bit of fun, really, but it also does showcase my writing as well.
No, I like that. Oh, just tell me about. I mean, you mentioned before we joined the show that you've got Irish roots.
Yes, my mum was from County Cork.
All right.
Yeah.
So did you spend any time there?
Not a lot, no. We went back a few times, but she came over to England when she was 15 to become a nurse because there was no jobs in Ireland. So literally put her on the boat, sent her away from home on her own into big bad city of London. A wee Irish girl with completely naive. Very, very brave of her, I think.
Yeah, did you think you get a lot from her then?
In terms of
exploring, I mean, traveling and.
Well, I mean, she came over here, but then she didn't really go very many other places after that. So we took her back to Ireland. She hadn't been back for 31 years.
Wow.
We took her back because we thought it was about time. But my mum didn't really do a lot of traveling, to be honest with you. But she came to England. She didn't really want to go back to Ireland after that.
Yeah, but she
and then the rest of her family followed sort of fairly soon after she arrived. Within about 6 years, I think they were all here.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so just moving on. So in your business now, how long have you been doing that for?
So I suppose it's 2.5 years, just over 2.5 years. Yeah.
And it's where you want to be, or you're looking at other things at the moment, or this is something you want to build?
Well, build, yeah, in the sense of growing, getting more clients, but I've not got any huge desire to go too massive. I don't want to become an agency. I like doing the writing myself. I don't want to be managing other people doing writing. So it's just a case of finding the right projects that are interesting, and just exploring different types of writing. So I've just started doing case studies, and also last year I did quite successfully write a bunch of awards for a business, and that off the back of the writing that I did, I wrote, I think it was four categories for one award and one category for another award. So it was 5 in total, but they used it and they won 21 awards with it. Wow. Yeah. So those sorts of services are the things that I'm focusing on at the moment.
So do you have typically recurring clients? I mean,
yeah, I've got some retainer clients. They're mainly for blogging, or I've got one that has social posts on LinkedIn, and the rest of them blogs.
Okay. And you give training as well, as in you could train others within a marketing team or whatever on kind of the art of how to write the blogs and stuff?
I've done training for blog writing. I've got a 2.5-hour course for that. I've done some training for general copywriting, and also yesterday I was at a firm of accountants showing them how to improve their LinkedIn profiles.
Okay, so yeah, whereabouts are you? Are you facing any challenges or anything in your business at the moment, or everything is
really?
Pretty much
I suppose
okay?
just time is always the challenge, isn't it? So it's just, as a freelancer, it's sort of very, very busy, and then it's not so busy. So it's quite hard to, have a nice steady flow.
Okay, so as we've got business owners here, and I mean, both individual business owners, or all three of us actually, in the audience. Now, have you got any advice, or have you got any questions to us?
Have I got any advice?
Or maybe some questions to us. Have you got a question that would ask? Because we're all in business, and we all would face kind of some copy kind of challenges.
Yeah, I guess the question would be, is there a particular type of writing that you find more difficult than others, and why do you think that is?
Yeah, so Laszlo, maybe to you, since you're building your business at the moment, and you've worked with some startups and stuff, what do you maybe see as the biggest challenges when it comes to kind of copy?
I don't know, actually. I cannot really think of, because it's obviously depending on the languages, right? I mean, if I, my mother tongue is Hungarian. So if I work with Hungarian companies, obviously it's a whole different story, compared to English. You try, Hungarianize some of the English, phrases and expressions and stuff, which sometimes, can be quite challenging. And then, yeah, being in Switzerland, it's multi-country, multilingual country. So actually, I cannot really think of anything right now.
I mean, for yourself.
Later on, I would have a very private question, which relates to something different, but let's cover this topic first.
Okay. But with your own business, Laszlo, I mean, you have a website or anything?
No, nothing. I mean, it's really in these days, I'm starting this company setup, registration, and this kind of thing. So nothing yet. Putting down the money, it will be an essay, Société Anonyme company format. So yeah, these are things that I'm just going through with banks and tax advisors and lawyers and stuff. So I'm not there yet.
All right. And just before we switch the point, where would you focus? I mean, your skills. I mean, you mentioned startups earlier. So
yeah.
Would it be startups or something?
Startups
different?
as well, but also small, medium. I'm really looking into kind of similar what I did at HP, which was pure, business development, setting up new businesses, commercialize products, entering new markets, setting up distribution channels or sales channels and these kind of things. So that's why I'm looking at as a primary focus. And also the other thing would be to quite an extent, extensive network, Middle East and Africa region, Eastern Europe, some in the US as well, and to find the linkages, like product X would be interested to sell in country Y and the other way around, these kind of things. The last few of these associations that kind of promote these kind of activities, but to be more, let's say, active in this area.
Okay.
So that's the direction.
Okay. And Bojan?
So challenges in writing. I'm very bad in writing poems and love letters. And when I produce something, I don't share it. No, this first, my company, we are making websites for more than 20 years. So actually what you do is maybe what people should start also thinking before they make websites. So what will be the content and the purpose of website? Very often people see the expensive website until it shows up, and then they realize that the bills after this are much higher because you need to find your audience. Most of the websites we did were in Bulgarian market. I know a lot of copywriters in Bulgaria, really good. It's quite difficult for them because the living standard in Bulgaria is very low. So it's difficult to find a good compensation for the efforts that you do. So many of them, they try to switch to English, French, German speaking countries to find clients there in order to better monetize their skills and to, of course, similar to what Laszlo said, the language, the cultural differences, sometimes it's not just to know them and their very deep roots, similar to what you shared about the slang. So it's something that does not mean anything for outsider. It's on this. And the other thing, what we do more on the technical part for the past 3 years, we do search engine optimization for companies. Most in different countries, we use platform tools for this. And in fact, maybe for English speaking or for we could find some kind of collaboration, because they need to target different like markets, keywords, etc. But it should not be just copy paste from somewhere. You need to make it meaningful and to catch the customers, to read it and then to come again and again to find the value. This is the tricky part. So this is, but what we focus, for example, for this search engine optimization is because we do mostly the technical part. We go and find, let's say, online stores, because with not too big budget for technical, you improve a lot. And the thing is they start seeing quite fast the change in the turnover. Mm-hmm. When it's like a business that you don't directly sell, these changes, they take longer time. And then it is, it's difficult. There are a lot of agencies that grab the big bunch of budgets. They spend them without looking for really effectiveness, because for them it's good. The bigger budget, the slice is bigger. But you're already aware of this. The other thing, what is kind of common between us, is that my company, we do implementation of ERP systems, accounting, and all this. So very often we work with accountants, finance guys to improve the processes and the situation with the help of the solutions too. So this is something that I see as a common stuff. And also the third thing that is common, I was late because I reconnected with a lady that we were working, we met, she's Italian, and she has 10 connections on LinkedIn. So I was giving her like rough guidance how to improve, because she's also looking for a job to find. So this is why I was late, but maybe next time I will convince her to join us, James, to see how it will go.
Thanks, Brian. So, Michelle, on your journey, then, I mean, you've tried a lot of different things. You've been an accountant, worked primarily with the numbers and everything. You've done some kind of birth and delivery stuff, and now your own books, and now creating your own business. Is there something else that you feel that you need to do? Is there another chapter coming, or are you quite content with what you're doing at the moment?
I think I'm quite happy doing what I'm doing now. The aim is, I mean, my sort of longer term plan is to effectively be able to retire in about 6 years and write novels. Right.
And what type of novels will they be?
Well, I mean, obviously I'm writing the sort of women's contemporary fiction. It would be the genre that I'm writing at the moment. So there's probably 2 or 3 stories in that, you know, that I can write with those same characters through books, rather than stories. I mean, 3 books.
But why particularly kind of contemporary fiction books?
Because they say write what you know, don't they? So yeah. I mean, it's easy for me to write about that world of childbirth and early parenting, because I've got so many actual stories that I can draw on, and not that I would.
So these will be real life kind of.
Well, no, it's fiction, but it's using the real stories that I heard, but pulling out bits from each. You know, I wouldn't tell everybody. I wouldn't tell one person's story in the novel, but I would pull bits that happened together into one of the characters' stories. So that's the way I'm.
All right, I see.
Yeah. But it's easy to do it because I've got so many stories in my head of things that happened when I was teaching. I've got tons and tons of material that I can use. So
what about your own kind of biography of stories? I mean, just now, I mean,
maybe, yeah. I mean, you know, I did. There's other things that I've done that we haven't even, you know, talked about. You know, how I know that there are 60,000 sheep stolen every year in the UK. That's, you know, that's another part of my story. So, you know, it's just, I think it's, you know, people find storytelling really hard. I think quite often I see people trying to you know, make their posts more relatable and you know, and tell a story, but they try to make it much more difficult than it needs to be, and they think it's much harder than it actually is. So, you know, just having one line like that, you know,
It's very eye-catching.
well, yeah, I mean, it's like, how do I know that there's 60,000
Who knows?
stolen
Right?
every year in the UK? But that could drill down into a part of my work story, which I haven't told you about. But.
Yeah, and it's how you start off, basically, with the hook.
Yes,
yeah.
Because if you think about
first bit of interest, isn't it?
I mean, we do it naturally. I mean, having a dinner party, or you're meeting some friends and you haven't seen them for a while, or you can't wait to see them because you've got something to tell them. You say, you won't believe what happened to me last night. And then straight away there, what happened?
Yeah.
And then you can either burst into tears, right?
I stole a sheep.
Yeah. Yeah, but it depends on how you act as well. You could burst into tears and then, and then you're getting that kind of sympathy, kind of emotional stuff. Or you could burst into laughter. And then they're already laughing, thinking, well, something is funny. I can't wait for you to tell me. So it's also
it's about tapping into people's emotions.
Yeah, but the execution of the storytelling. So there's the stories, but also the art of storytelling, right? Because you could make, you won't believe what happened to me last night. And I think, oh, bloody bored already.
This is what I'm up against when I'm writing accountants' websites, because you somehow have got to, you know, get them to a place where their clients think, oh, actually, this person can help me because they understand my problems, rather than just a list of services, which is what most accountants put on their websites. And everyone knows that they do tax returns and compliance and, you know, payroll. You don't need to be told that. We know that. It's just what makes you different.
Exactly. I mean, also, I mean, if you're a company and you wanted someone to do payroll or the accountancy for them, how do you pick one from another?
Well, exactly. It's all about the people.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's about the people.
Yeah.
But hearing their stories, so maybe on their website, it's got stories about great clients that they've got, and they love it because of the interaction, and they make it fun. And well, you could, it just made me think of something like on LinkedIn. You could put a post out every day to tell a story. So you could say, right, I'm going to do this over 5 days. I'm going to tell you a story in 5 days. So I'm not going to tell you everything on day one. So you hook them and tease them with the first one, and they can't wait for the next day so they can read the next bit. And then it could be a complete load of rubbish.
It works really well. I've done it. I put it under #work stories. So some of the stories that I've told today are in that. So it literally kind of goes from my beginning when I first started work all the way sort of up to.
Yeah, so I mean, you could give kind of tips and tricks on different types of stories or copy and things that you've used that actually work for some, or maybe are the best things to try out. Because a lot of people, even though they have as an example, a LinkedIn profile, they don't use it. They just have a picture of them and some kind of CV style kind of information there. And therefore it's just a dead online CV, right? It doesn't work for them. And then you bring that alive by the copy, by a post or a blog or a advert or something that brings it alive. Otherwise, why would someone visit it?
Well, exactly.
I mean, to me, I always use analogies like you could have the best looking profile. It's like restoring a classic car, and you put the classic car, you've done all the hard work, you've got it looking great, but you've left the classic car in the garage. nobody's going to see it in the garage.
Yeah.
So now you've done the hard work, make it work for you, take it out, showcase it. But anyway, so it doesn't look like Emily is going to join. I've been pinging her and she was in the car last time I heard. So we could wrap up with a song from Emily. Right?
I need to leave in 2 minutes, and I would have one question as copywriters or text or whatever. I'm doing actually trying to write a book, my African stories, safari stories with pictures and everything. And I came up with this phrase called emerald season. Have you heard about this? Emerald season? It's like the summer season in Africa, but lush green, very nice colors. And I was looking for the actual opposite of the emerald season. What could it be? What's, kind of similar, color or phrase or something to describe it. And I couldn't find one. And I'm asking everyone now, have you heard of this, or do you know something, or just like real native English speakers, they might have heard something in the Cockney area or not, or whatever. Anyway, opposite of emerald season.
I shall cogitate on that. I'll think about it.
Okay.
Hey, Laszlo, what you should do is put it in Publishing Mastery one.
Okay. That's a good idea.
Because these are people that are writing books and things. And just,
actually, I wanted to ask Paul as well, but I missed.
Yeah.
I will. All right. Cool.
Right.
Anyway, Michelle, I sent you a connection request on LinkedIn, so let's connect.
I started following you, but I will also send you a connection. But I'm a little bit more official on LinkedIn.
All right, guys, sorry, I need to leave. It was great seeing you. Have a good weekend, and let's see you next Friday is on.
Next Friday, yes.
Yes.
Cool. All right, bye, guys. Thanks very much. Thanks, Michelle. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Laszlo. Right, Michelle, it's up to you. I mean, we can just wrap up now, or if you want to hear a song, we could do that.
I can have a quick song. I need to get away by 2:30, so.
Okay, then. All right, let me just share my screen, and we will. Yeah, I asked Emily if she could join, but she's in the car, so not to worry. But just to show you typically what we do, I'm just going to play a song from her YouTube channel. So you should be able to see that now, right? And then you will
good.
So thanks, Emily. So Emily typically watches the recordings afterwards. So unfortunately, she couldn't make it in person, but that is one of the cover songs that she sings. She does sing her own as well. So on that note, I would like to just wrap this up. So thank you. You can hear music or not?
No.
Oh, okay.
We hear you.
It's the same as last week. I get music in my ears, isn't it? So I'd like to thank you, Michelle, for being our 83rd featured business guest. It's been an absolute honor and pleasure to learn about your story. And yeah, I will send you a copy of this recording afterwards, and feel free to use your copy skills if you want to extract anything from here and use it for your own purposes. That's really no problem.
Right. Thank you very much. It's been good fun. Thanks for inviting me.
So thank you very much. And thank you, Boyan, again.
Pleasure to meet you.
Lovely to meet you, Boyan. Take care.
Yeah.
Okay, so have a wonderful weekend.
Yep. You too.
Okay, thank you once again.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.